Have you ever felt anxious on a day where nothing bad actually happened? No crisis, no emergency, no real problem. And still, your body feels tense. Your mind is already preparing for the worst. If this happens to you, listen carefully. This is not your personality. And it's not weakness. It's a pattern your brain learned. And in this video, I'm going to show you why your mind does this. Why trying to think positive doesn't stop it. And how to interrupt this cycle without forcing yourself to feel calm. If you want psychology-based guidance to feel calmer, clearer, and more grounded in your daily life, subscribe to Emotional Growth. Now let me explain what's really happening inside your mind and body. Most people believe anxiety starts with thoughts. They think, if I could stop thinking like this, I would feel better. But very often, anxiety starts somewhere else. It starts in the body. A subtle tightening in the chest, a shallow breath, a feeling of alertness that appears before you even know why. And then your mind steps in and asks, what's wrong? Because the brain hates uncertainty. It would rather imagine a threat than sit with a question mark. So it fills the gap. Your heart beats faster, and your mind says, something bad is coming. Your stomach tightens, and your mind says, I'm not safe. This is not intuition. It's not insight. It's your survival system trying to protect you. Your brain does not show you reality as it is. It shows you reality as it expects it to be. It works like a filter, not a window. Two people can live the same situation. One feels challenged. The other feels threatened. The difference is not strength. It's interpretation. And interpretation is shaped by what your nervous system learned in the past. Here's an important question. When your mind jumps to the worst-case scenario, does part of you feel like you're being responsible? Like you're being prepared? That's because, at some point in your life, anticipation probably felt useful. Maybe things really did go wrong unexpectedly. Maybe being caught off guard hurt. So your brain adapted. It learned to scan ahead, to imagine outcomes, to prepare for pain before it arrived. Your mind wasn't trying to harm you. It was trying to protect you. But what once protected you may now be keeping you tense. Preparing for pain is not the same as being safe. And when your system lives in constant anticipation, anxiety stops being a reaction and becomes a baseline. And this is where most women get stuck, because they try to fix anxiety by fighting their thoughts. Today I'm going to show you why that rarely works, and why the real interruption doesn't start in your mind, but in your body. Before we talk about changing your thoughts, we need to talk about something most people skip. Your body. Because if your body is tense, alert, and bracing for impact, your mind cannot think clearly, no matter how logical you try to be. This is where many women get frustrated. They understand what's happening intellectually. They know they're safe. They know the worst-case scenario probably won't happen. And still, their chest feels tight. Their breath feels shallow. Their mind keeps circling. That's because safety is not decided by logic. It's decided by your nervous system. Your body reacts first. Your thoughts come second. When your system senses uncertainty, not danger, just uncertainty, it activates an old protective response. And once that response is active, your mind will interpret everything through tension. This is why trying to think calm rarely works. It's like asking a fire alarm to stop ringing by explaining that there's no fire. The alarm doesn't speak logic. It responds to signals. And the most powerful signals come from the body. Let me ask you something important. Have you ever noticed that your anxiety feels worse when you're tired, hungry, overstimulated, or emotionally drained? That's not coincidence. When your body is depleted, your system becomes more sensitive. Small sensations feel bigger. Minor uncertainty feels threatening. Neutral moments feel unsafe. This doesn't mean something is wrong with you. It means your system needs regulation, not criticism. And here's the part that often feels confronting. If you spend years pushing through discomfort, ignoring exhaustion, and telling yourself to just handle it, your nervous system may have learned that tension is normal. It doesn't know how to relax anymore. Not because it doesn't want to, but because it doesn't trust that it's safe to do so. Now here's where things begin to shift. The fastest way to interrupt anxiety is not to argue with your thoughts. It's to send your body a clear signal of safety. And this doesn't require meditation, affirmations, or hours of work. It starts with something simple, your breath. When you exhale slowly, longer than you inhale, your body receives a message. There is no immediate threat. Your shoulders soften. Your jaw releases. Your heart rate slows. This isn't imagination. It's biology. Your body has a built-in brake system. And your breath is the lever. Try this right now, even as you listen. Inhale gently through your nose. Then exhale slowly through your mouth, as if you were fogging a mirror. Do it again. You're not trying to feel calm. You're just letting your system downshift. Even a small reduction in tension gives your mind more space. And that space matters. Because once the body settles, even slightly, your mind regains access to a different mode of thinking. This is where awareness replaces panic. Instead of automatically believing the thought, you begin to notice it. Instead of, this is going to go wrong, you hear, this is a familiar fear response. That shift is powerful, not because the thought disappears, but because you are no longer inside it. You're standing next to it. And that's the moment where choice returns. Here's something that may surprise you. You don't need to stop negative thoughts. You just need to stop treating them like instructions. A thought can appear without being followed. A fear can show up without being obeyed. When a negative thought arises, try asking one simple question. Is this a fact, or is this a prediction? Most anxious thoughts are predictions. And predictions are not reality. They are habits. Your brain has practiced these scenarios many times, so it retrieves them quickly. But speed does not equal truth. Now let's talk about language. The way you speak to yourself matters, more than most people realize. Your brain responds to words as signals. When you say, I can't handle this, your system tightens. When you say, this shouldn't be happening, your system resists. But when you say, this is uncomfortable, and I can take the next step, your body stays engaged, not overwhelmed. This isn't positive thinking. This is realistic leadership. You're not denying difficulty. You're refusing to turn it into catastrophe. And that changes everything. Let me be clear about something. Calm does not come from eliminating uncertainty. It comes from trusting your ability to respond. Most anxiety is not fear of events. It's fear of not coping. So the real question is not, what if something goes wrong? It's, do I trust myself to handle what comes next? And trust is built through experience. Small experiences. Moments where you regulate your body. Question the thought. And take one grounded action anyway. Each time you do that, you teach your system something new. You teach it that discomfort is survivable. That uncertainty is not fatal. That tension does not mean danger. And slowly, quietly, your system begins to relax its grip. Now we're going to go deeper. We'll talk about why self-pressure keeps anxiety alive, how emotional perfectionism drains your nervous system, and how to begin building internal safety, not by controlling life, but by changing how you relate to yourself. Because lasting calm doesn't come from fixing everything around you. It comes from becoming someone who no longer needs to live on edge. There's something that quietly fuels anxiety in many women. And most of the time, it goes completely unnoticed. It doesn't look like panic. It doesn't look like fear. It looks like responsibility. It looks like being the one who holds everything together. The one who anticipates problems. The one who doesn't complain. The one who adapts. And over time, this silent pressure becomes normal. But here's the truth that's hard to hear. Anxiety often isn't caused by what life demands from you. It's caused by what you demand from yourself. Let me ask you something gently, but honestly. Do you feel like resting means you're falling behind? Do you feel guilty when you say no? Do you replay conversations, wondering if you said the wrong thing? Do you believe you should be able to handle everything without needing support? These beliefs don't appear out of nowhere. They usually form in environments where being good, strong, or easy to deal with felt necessary to stay safe or accepted. So your nervous system learned a rule. Stay alert. Don't make mistakes. Don't disappoint. That rule may have protected you once, but now it keeps you tense. This is what emotional perfectionism looks like. Not obsessing over details, but expecting yourself to be calm, patient, capable, and understanding at all times. Never too emotional. Never too needy. Never too much. And here's the cost. When your system believes you must always perform emotionally well, it never fully relaxes, because relaxation feels like risk. If you drop your guard, something might go wrong. If you rest, you might fall behind. If you stop anticipating, you might miss something important. So your body stays ready. Not for joy, for survival. Now let's talk about guilt. Guilt is one of anxiety's favorite tools. It whispers things like, you should be doing more. You shouldn't feel this way. You don't deserve rest yet. And the nervous system listens. Guilt keeps your system in motion. It keeps cortisol flowing quietly in the background. It keeps your mind scanning for what you forgot or failed to prevent. And here's the cruel part. The more you try to be better, the more anxious you often feel, because you're chasing an impossible standard, one where you never make mistakes, never disappoint, never need help. That standard keeps your nervous system in a constant state of self-monitoring. And self-monitoring is exhausting. Let me ask you something important. What if your anxiety isn't a sign that you're not doing enough, but a sign that you're doing too much emotionally? What if the problem isn't that you're too sensitive, but that you've been strong for too long? Your nervous system doesn't need more discipline. It needs permission to soften. And softness is not weakness. Softness is what allows safety to return. Here's something most people don't realize. Even when life becomes calmer, your nervous system doesn't automatically update. If you spent years in environments that required adaptation, vigilance, or emotional control, your system may still be operating as if those conditions exist. You may have left the situation, but the situation hasn't left your body. So your mind stays alert, your body stays tense, and peace feels unfamiliar, sometimes even uncomfortable. This is why some women feel anxious when things finally slow down. The system doesn't recognize calm as safe yet. This is what it means to live in survival mode emotionally. Not constant crisis, but constant readiness. Small problems feel bigger than they are. Silence feels threatening. Delays feel like rejection. Neutral moments feel uneasy. Your brain isn't broken. It's just trained. And training can be changed. But not through pressure. Not through forcing calm. And definitely not through self-criticism. Real change begins when you shift one thing. Instead of asking, what's wrong with me? You begin asking, what did my system learn? That question opens the door to compassion. And compassion is not indulgence. It's regulation. When your system feels understood instead of judged, it begins to release its grip. Now let's talk about what actually builds safety. Not control. Not perfection. Not eliminating uncertainty. Safety comes from learning that you can be with discomfort without collapsing. That you can pause without everything falling apart. That you can make mistakes and still be worthy, loved, and capable. This isn't an idea you think yourself into. It's something you experience in small moments. Now we're going to focus on exactly that. How to begin retraining your nervous system through daily, realistic practices. Not dramatic changes. Not life overhauls. Just consistent signals of safety that slowly replace vigilance. Because peace isn't something you achieve. It's something your system relearns. Before we talk about retraining your nervous system, there's something important you need to see clearly. Because anxiety doesn't just live in your thoughts. And it doesn't only show up as fear. Very often, anxiety quietly shapes the way you live. It changes what you say yes to, what you postpone, what you avoid, and what you tolerate for far too long. Not in dramatic ways. In subtle ones. You hesitate before making decisions. You overthink messages before sending them. You stay silent to avoid discomfort. You delay rest because it feels undeserved. You choose what feels safer instead of what feels true. And over time, your life becomes smaller. Not because you lack courage, but because your nervous system is constantly trying to prevent discomfort. This is how anxiety becomes a lifestyle, Not loud, but limiting. Let me ask you something honestly. How many decisions in your life are shaped by the question, how do I avoid feeling uncomfortable? Not consciously, automatically. When you organize your life around avoiding discomfort, your nervous system never learns that you can survive it, so it keeps sounding the alarm. This is why anxiety doesn't go away just because life gets calmer, because the system hasn't learned safety through experience, only through avoidance. And avoidance feels like relief in the short term, but it teaches the brain a dangerous lesson. This feeling is too much. So next time, the alarm gets louder. This is not a character flaw. It's conditioning. And the most painful part, many women don't realize how much they've adapted their lives around anxiety until they feel exhausted, disconnected, or emotionally numb. Not because they're weak, but because they've been strong in the wrong direction. The goal is not to force yourself into discomfort, and it's not to eliminate fear. The goal is to stop letting anxiety make decisions for you. And that begins by noticing where your life has quietly shrunk, and where you want to expand again. That expansion doesn't happen through pressure. It happens through regulation. And that's exactly what we're going to focus on next. If anxiety is something your system learned, then calm is something your system can relearn. But this is where many women get discouraged. They think calm should arrive as a feeling, as relief, as silence in the mind. And when that doesn't happen quickly, they assume they're doing it wrong. Here's the truth. Calm doesn't begin as a feeling. It begins as a signal you send to your body again and again. That says, I am safe enough right now. Not forever. Not perfectly. Just enough. And safety is built through repetition, not intensity. Let's make this very practical. Your nervous system learns safety the same way it learned vigilance. Through small, consistent experiences. Not big breakthroughs. Not dramatic changes. Tiny moments that tell the body, nothing bad happened when I softened. That's how trust is rebuilt. Here's the first principle. You cannot think your way out of survival mode. You have to experience your way out. That means your daily actions matter more than your insights. When you slow your movements, your body interprets that as safety. When you unclench your jaw, drop your shoulders, and let your breath deepen, your system receives a message. There is no immediate threat. These are not relaxation techniques. They are survival cues in reverse. Let me ask you something. How often do you move through your day rushing? Even when there's no real urgency. That constant speed keeps the nervous system alert. So one of the simplest ways to retrain your body is to deliberately slow down neutral moments. Not everything. Just a few. Drink your coffee without multitasking. Walk a little slower to your car. Pause before answering a message. These moments teach your system something new. I can slow down and nothing collapses. That lesson is powerful. Now let's talk about action. Many women try to calm anxiety by stopping themselves from acting. They freeze. They wait until they feel better. But here's the paradox. Avoidance teaches the nervous system that discomfort is dangerous. The goal isn't to push yourself aggressively. It's to take small, grounded actions while staying regulated. One email, one decision, one step. Action paired with regulation builds confidence. Not confidence as a personality trait, but confidence as a bodily experience. I felt uncomfortable, and I handled it. That experience rewires your system. Here's another key piece. Your nervous system doesn't trust words alone. It trusts evidence. Every time you stay present with discomfort, without spiraling, without self-attacking, without abandoning yourself, you provide that evidence. And over time, the body updates its expectations. This is how the alarm quiets. Not because life became predictable, but because you became steadier. Let's talk about self-talk, briefly but clearly. The voice you use with yourself matters. Not because it should be positive, but because it should be grounded. Instead of saying, I shouldn't feel this way, try, this is uncomfortable and I'm here with it. Instead of, I need to get rid of this feeling, try, this feeling can pass on its own. These statements don't fight the nervous system. They calm it, because they remove urgency. And urgency is anxiety's fuel. Now here's something confronting, but freeing. You don't need to eliminate anxiety to live well. You need to stop organizing your life around it. When every decision is made to avoid discomfort, your world shrinks. But when you learn to move forward while regulated, your system learns resilience. That's real safety. Not the absence of fear, but the presence of capacity. So here's a simple daily framework. Not a routine. A reference point. When anxiety shows up, ask yourself, what does my body need right now to feel 5% safer? Not calm. Not perfect. Just safer. A slower breath. A pause. A kind sentence. A grounded step. That's how you exit survival mode. One small signal at a time. And here's the part most people never get to. What actually makes this change last? Not for a day. Not for a good week. But in real life, when stress returns, when fear shows up again. Because the goal isn't to eliminate anxiety. It's to stop living as if your nervous system is always under threat. Before we close, there's one last thing that often confuses people. When your nervous system has lived in survival mode for a long time, calm can feel unfamiliar. Sometimes even uncomfortable. Not because something is wrong, but because your system isn't used to neutrality. When the body has been alert for years, stillness feels strange. Silence feels empty. Rest feels undeserved. So when anxiety begins to loosen its grip, some people mistake that unfamiliar calm for danger. They think, something's off. When is the other shoe going to drop? This doesn't mean you're regressing. It means your system is recalibrating. Learning safety feels strange before it feels peaceful. And knowing this prevents you from sabotaging progress. Just because calm doesn't feel dramatic or intense. This is part of the transition, not a problem to fix. If there's one thing I want you to take with you from this video, it's this. You were never meant to eliminate anxiety. You were meant to outgrow the need to live governed by it. Anxiety is not a flaw in your character. It's not a sign that you're incapable. And it's not proof that something bad is about to happen. It's a learned response. A system that adapted to protect you when protection was necessary. But here's the quiet shift that changes everything. What protected you once may now be restricting you. And recognizing that is not weakness. It's maturity. Many women believe that healing means never feeling anxious again. So when anxiety returns, even briefly, they think they failed. But that belief keeps you trapped. Progress is not the absence of anxiety. Progress is how quickly you return to yourself when it appears. You will still have moments of worry, moments of tension, moments where your mind jumps ahead. That doesn't mean you're back at the beginning. It means you're human. The difference now is that you don't panic about the panic. You don't attack yourself for feeling what you feel. And you don't abandon yourself in the middle of discomfort. That's real growth. Let me say this clearly, because many women need to hear it. Relapse does not mean regression. Your nervous system learns through repetition, not perfection. Every time you pause instead of spiraling. Every time you breathe instead of bracing. Every time you question a thought instead of obeying it. You are strengthening a new pathway. Even if anxiety shows up tomorrow, it won't have the same authority. Because now you recognize it. And recognition creates space. There is a quiet confidence that comes from this work. Not the loud kind. Not the performative kind. The kind that says, I may feel uncomfortable, and I trust myself to respond. That confidence doesn't come from controlling life. It comes from trusting your capacity. And if this way of understanding your mind feels grounding to you, this is exactly the kind of work we continue here. This space is for women who want clarity instead of overwhelm, self-trust instead of constant self-monitoring, and emotional steadiness that doesn't require shutting themselves down. So if you haven't yet, subscribe to Emotional Growth, and allow yourself to return to this work whenever you need it. And if this video helped you understand yourself more clearly, and you feel that you want to go deeper into this process, I created a practical guide to support you beyond this video. It was designed to help you regulate your emotions, stop reacting automatically or oversharing, and build inner stability step by step at your own pace, without pressure and without shutting yourself down emotionally. You'll find this guide in the pinned comment below. When you stop trying to eliminate uncertainty and start building internal safety, your system begins to rest. Not all at once, but steadily. Thank you for being here. I'll see you in the next video.